So I think I read my favorite book of all time, and that book happens to be all right, so I am reading The Woman in the Library. I'm currently on page 72. Okay, so I am currently on page 114. I read quite a bit last night in my bed, but I didn't film it. But how do I feel? Now, we had the four characters like I mentioned before that you have to really read it to understand it. It's like the main author is obviously Celery, and then you have Hannah, who is writing a story of these four individuals, and the main character of the four individuals, Freddie, happens to also be a writer who's writing a book based off what's actively happening. At this rate, I really don't know who it is. I have no clue. I wouldn't say this is too much giving me like a thrill of like, what's going on the next page? It definitely has my attention, but I don't feel like this is thrilling by any means, but it's definitely a mystery and the characters are interesting enough to want to continue to read it, and I think I will end up rating it quite high at the end. But that is where I'm at currently, reading page 114. Right, so we have a little bit of a development here. Apparently, Cain served 7 years in prison. Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so very glad that you clicked on this video today to join me in bringing you some amazing bookish content. And as you can see by today's title, I read The Woman in the Library by Celery Gentle, and it happens to be my favorite book ever. I do not think I have read a book and loved it as much as I love this book here. And so I thought, what better way to talk about it than doing a book review and showing you a little bit of the reading footage of me reading this book, because it was amazing. And I'm so lucky and so glad to be able to read it. I'm so glad that I picked up the book and decided to challenge myself to read only mysteries for a week. And that's kind of how this originally started. I was planning on doing this video in terms of like reading only mysteries for an entire week. I had 3 books laid out. I was going to read John Dunning's Book to Die. I read Andrea Camilleri's Rounding the Mark, and then The Woman in the Library by Celery Gentle. But John Dunning's book I never actually got to. I was able to just finish those 2 books in that week, and that was super exciting. I ended up not even liking Andrea Camilleri's book, and as you know, I kind of raved about him as being one of the authors I really do enjoy reading, and that book actually gave 2 stars. But then I decided to, instead of reading John Dunning's book, continue with it. It's okay if it's only 2 books in this little video, and read The Woman in the Library, and I'm so glad I did it, you guys. I give this book 10 stars. It was amazing, and I want to tell you about it. So without further ado, let's jump into today's video. I gave this book 10 stars. It was freaking amazing. I will have also a review of this in a little post, have a little bit more detail on my Instagram, which will be linked right up here for you guys, or rather the handle will be on the screen, so you guys can go follow me there. I always post as much bookish content as I can throughout the week there if I don't feel like making it into video form, as well as reels and whatnot. So definitely go follow me there, because then you will also see the review post on this book as well. But I am so glad to have read this book. I picked it up not too long ago. Can't actually remember. I feel like I picked it up when it came out. I don't remember what year it came out. I'll post it on the screen. But I grabbed it because it's a book about books, and it's a mystery thriller. And I absolutely love stuff like that. But I definitely did go into this book thinking it was more mystery related. I actually am so surprised to say that it was definitely more thriller than I expected it to be. And I love that. I love psych thrillers, one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite genre. And so reading this book took me on a whirlwind. I definitely started out with it a little bit confused, because you're getting this book in 2 different formats, you can say. You're first getting the book centered around the 4 main characters who happen to be in the reading room at the Boston Public Library, and then you're getting this email chain between this woman named Hannah and her friend or colleague named Leo. And so you're trying to piece together what's happening. A part of me almost kind of got swindled into the fact, could Hannah possibly be a like pen name for one of the characters within the book? But then you are led to then figure out that Hannah is actually the author of the 4 characters within the book, and she's talking to Leo and kind of getting feedback on her story and help to write it. And so you're following the 4 main characters in this book, Freddie, Kane, Whit, and Marigold. They happen to all be in the reading room together, and then a woman screams and they're like, all the rules are defied, it's time to talk, what's going down? And so a fast friendship, found family kind of forms. Then you're kind of watching these 4 individuals just kind of navigate this new life that they're in. Pretty much they are now friends. They've kind of all became connected because of something so tragic like this. And they're kind of just coping with that, really, and learning about one another and spending time with one another. And some of them actually form romances with one another. And so you're just kind of getting into their lives. Well, one of the characters, the main character, Freddie, she is an author and she's from Australia. She was actually brought here on a fellowship from a writing piece that actually landed her this opportunity. And so she's taking all that she's encountered with these friends of hers and this issue at the library and using it as inspiration for her next book. Then you have Kane, who happens to also be an author, who is writing something a little bit more dark and a little bit more meaningful and a little bit personal. And you slowly begin to find out more about his story and why he's writing what he's writing and kind of what role he's going to play within figuring out who was the one who killed the woman in the library. Then you're following Whit, who is kind of that typical college guy hunk that everyone is loving, who is in law school, about to graduate, but is choosing to flunk because he doesn't want to join his family's law firm. And then you have Marigold, who is this tattooed, rugged, super edgy girl who used to be a star ballerina who's practically a genius and a psychology student. And so you're just watching how all of these different minds kind of work together to kind of investigate what's going on. You also watch a lot of them get injured, a lot of them get hurt, a lot of random emotions kind of going on. And Freddie is really taking this and really trying to figure out what's going on and who did it and how are they all connected? Why were they all in the reading room at this same point? Why are they almost being targeted? Who is responsible for it? But she definitely does, in the back of her mind, feel as though one of the 4 of them is the killer. Obviously not herself, she's pretty sure on that. So while you're reading and going through the motions with these characters, you're kind of developing who you think it is. I was definitely, for most of the book, leaning towards Marigold. And so it was actually a little disappointing at the end to see that it wasn't her, because she's a very intrusive character. She's a little bit intense. She definitely pops up at all the wrong times and is really keen on figuring out who it is and overly emotional. And so you're reading it almost thinking, the fact that she's a psych student, is she doing some weird experiment? You know what I mean? And so the way that the characters are kind of involved in the story and how they all know the woman and how they're connected to her, it definitely leads you on the path that it could be her. So when it ends up not being her, it's not that it took away from the story and made me like it any less, but I think it made you fall in love with her character more and also appreciate the way that the author wrote it, because I think it's really nice, especially in thriller books, to be stumped and then completely proved wrong. I think that's amazing, to think you have it, then you get stumped and then you're proven wrong, or rather you are stumped, you think you have it, and then you're proven wrong, and you kind of get to see, wow, I bet the author wrote it in that way to confuse the reader, to make the reader think one way and then it was actually not that way. So I absolutely love how that was done with the character. So you're following through the book thinking you know who it is, and then you're also reading these email chains. After every single chapter, you're getting a response from Leo, who happens to be a kind of colleague or pen pal of Hannah, who is actually writing about these 4 characters, and she's getting feedback from him. She sends him a chapter of her manuscript and they kind of go back and forth. But slowly, as the book progresses, these email conversations become darker and darker and darker, and very sinister and very evil and very heavy. And so you get so confused, because then all of a sudden Hannah writes Leo into the story with the 4 friends, and so then Freddie and Leo develop this relationship. So for a while I was actually confused, thinking that possibly Hannah and Leo were the same, Hannah and Freddie were the same person, and possibly Hannah was a pen name that she was conversing with Leo. I don't know, so it kind of confused me there. But then when I figured out who Hannah actually was, it made you more intrigued into who Leo was. You know, why was he written into the story with Freddie, and why is his character acting so different compared to how Leo is acting in his email? So then it's like, is she writing based off him? Is she writing based on who she thought Leo was, and now he's actually showing who he actually is? And so you're going through the motions of that story as he's helping her. And one of the things that really stood out to me, that definitely gave me that feeling of knowing we're getting to such a pivotal point in the story with Leo and Hannah's emails, that something is going to go down. Something is going wrong. You didn't know what it was, but something is going wrong. And it happens to be this specific email, chapter 18. Obviously, before this, I can definitely say with reading through the emails, you're noticing things that Leo is saying that kind of confuses you, but it makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? And you see Hannah taking a lot of his ideas and putting them on her paper, and then you see Freddie and the characters acting those things out. But then you get this email that kind of shakes it all up, and the thrill, the sinister, psychological-esque of it all comes to life. And it says, "My dear Hannah, what a beautiful reveal. It becomes clear now, while Kim seems not to be disturbed by the fact that Isaac Harmon was wanted for murder. You've upped the ante magnificently. Talking of which, I came across another crime scene yesterday. I don't know if it was the mask or the anonymity it affords, but I was feeling bold, and so I grabbed some pictures of the body for you. I must have got there only moments after the police. They didn't even have crime scene tape up. Anyway, the victim seems to have been partially disemboweled. All the dark area is blood. I imagine it took him a few minutes to die, and judging by the smearing in the blood, he struggled. I know you don't generally write such graphic scenes, but this novel might call for a little extra realism. This could be your inspiration. I'll keep an eye out for more. Waiting anxiously for your next installment. Yours, Leo." And so, obviously, you experienced him saying a lot of crazy stuff before, sending a lot of weird information, giving her a lot of stuff that you're like, why are you sending this to her? She does write it in, so you're thinking, wow, he's super creative. Like, how is Leo encountering all these things in Boston? Is Boston that dangerous? You know what I mean? Is she gonna write more of just like the dangerous, you know, murderous town that Leo is describing, and Freddie is living in Boston from Australia? Like, Hannah's writing the characters here. She's gaining that inspiration. So why isn't she writing it as sinister as Leo is putting it? Like, there's a lot of crime happening. So your mind is just kind of racing. And then you read it and you're like, wait, this is the what time that Leo, like, how many times has Leo now run across these random murders? You know what I mean? Why does he think it's okay to send very gory photos to her for inspiration? You know, it almost seems like he is demanding her to write things that he is sending her. And so a part of you is like, oh no, maybe Leo is crazy. Maybe he is a murderer. Maybe he's doing something wrong. Maybe he just has a vivid information. You know, maybe the things Hannah is saying to him are really cynical, and you're never able to see it because you only get the responses from Leo. So you're taking on this really thrill ride, all the while trying to solve this mystery. And so I think that was just really fantastic. And that was really what gave this book that 10-star rating for me. I have never read a book where there's a story within a story. And so as soon as I finished this, I went on to the book club that I'm in, the virtual book club, and I was able to go in and ask this question and was given so many recommendations on books that follow this similar thing, where you have like an email chain, letter writing, text writing, chats or whatever within the story in and of itself, just giving you a deeper layer. And I absolutely love that. And so then at the end of the book, when it all said and done, I think, like I said, hoping it to be Marigold and it wasn't was a little bit annoying, but I love how she did it. I love how the author wrote it because it made you think that the whole way through. But then I feel like how she let it end with Leo and Hannah could have been done so much better, even though I gave it a 10-star rating. Like, this book was amazing, and I will recommend it over and over again. And maybe I just need to reread it to just relive that moment again, because maybe it's something that I just missed. But I don't want to say hoping for, but I was expecting Hannah to get into some serious trouble, and it didn't end up happening. And so at the end, although it was amazing, and I still give it my 10 stars and I stand by it, I think it would have been a 100-star book had something happened between Hannah and Leo that you were thinking was gonna happen. And so that's all I'm gonna say. Otherwise, I'm gonna give too much of this book away. But you guys, I loved it. I hope what I said gave you enough desire to want to pick it up yourself. It'll be linked down below for you guys, for you to grab a copy if you want to listen to it or read it. I read it. I thought it was amazing. It was fantastic. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna keep saying that. Otherwise, I'm gonna tell you who did it and how it went. And I don't want to do that. I want to try to keep it as spoiler free. But yes, it'll be linked down below. You should grab a copy. As well as, if you can, down below, let me know one of the book recommendations that you have wanted to recommend to somebody but just never did it. Let me know down below so that all of us in the comments can look at those books, and whoever's comment and whoever recommendation sets with me in such a beautiful way, and I'm just like, ooh, that's a book I want to read, it will be featured in the beginning of my very next video with your handle name and the book that you recommended, because I think it would be really nice to form a really tight-knit community in the comments where we can talk about books and recommend books and have such a great time. So please do not forget to leave that little comment down below, and the question will also be linked down below for you guys so that you can know exactly what you need to answer. And then when you go down there, be sure to look at the encouragement of the day that was posted just like in the beginning of the video, and the song of the day. I think that'll be super excited to kind of start in the description, as long with all the different links that are down there to other videos. Make sure you're always reading the description box. You'll find so many good little golden nuggets. But yes, I am so glad that you guys are here. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit your notification bell so you can be notified every single time I post a video. And subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay a while if you want to, because we're so nice and we have so much fun together. And without further ado, I will catch you guys all in my very next video. And again, do not forget to comment down below one of your favorite all-time book recommendations. And if your comment is picked, it will be featured at the beginning of my very next video.